Greetings, my Rantians. Hope you're all doing well today, and welcome back to another episode of Pride and Peddlers. Before we start, I just wanted to mention that there are multiple different ways of navigating through this scenario. But what I feel is a really good idea is because I have had a couple of comments right now that really are asking me, how is the best way of going about this chain, what to do about this particular item, should I make this item, should I not make this item? I just want to go through the whole thing right now, because at this point, we're going to get the gold, okay? There's no reason why we shouldn't. But how do you do it? How can you get there? What are the best resources to focus on? And I really want to touch on those today. Before we start, of course, if you're new here, hi, how are you? Thank you so much for checking this video and the channel. I really appreciate, quite penetrated by your kindness. And if you'd like to look at the channel even further and potentially subscribe to it, right over there. Discord's there too. You can jump into that. It's interesting. Just kidding. So let's just go ahead and start with Pride and Peddlers to start off. What we need to immediately look at is the geography. I'm not entirely certain whether the whole scenario is going to look the exact same way as my game is right here. But if we were to look at this particular map, we need to immediately focus on where are the NPCs. Do note, the NPCs themselves are not able to colonize the islands here, so you have free reign. That is one very good thing. But we need to figure out where the NPC traders are going to be. And the first three that we really want to focus on are going to be Carl, the Admiral, and Margaret Hunt. And this is, I'm putting all like RP aside, I'm just going as far as like explanations concerned, because I want you to get up to like 70 mil in your bank, dude. I want you to be able to actually get the gold in this scenario. It is very possible. It has a steep learning curve, but once you get over it, and hopefully I'm able to explain well enough so you can get over this learning curve. Very early on in the game, Carl is probably going to be your best bet. Now, at the moment, it's definitely not a good time to really showcase the items that you really want to be selling here. But I will tell you, timber is very good to start off. Cotton is also very good to start off, and same with corn. He will purchase probably the corn at the highest price. Early game, I think that's around 400 per ton. That's a really good resource to sell to him. Along with Margaret Hunt, she loves her potassium, okay? You can sell as much plantains to her as possible. She won't purchase the cotton as much as Carl will, though. So I would recommend selling the cotton over to Carl instead of her. But she will purchase the caoutchouc, which the caoutchouc is... Right now, it's not, like, fantastic. It's never going to be fantastic. It's only used as a supplemental resource for a lot of more important things. So you can choose to sell it to her, but my honest opinion is hold on to it because you're going to need it later. The Admiral loves his coffee beans and his tobacco leaves. Val has had a very interesting conversation with the Admiral, and I dare say they are on the same page. I was not privy to that conversation because I still follow the do not smoke type of mentality. I'm sorry. So, looking at this, right, there are a couple things also with his whole building and, you know, purchasing items that I really want to caution you to. Pride and Peddlers lures you into a false sense of security. And what do I mean by that? There are a lot of resources here that are finite resources, and there are a lot of resources that are infinite. The finite ones don't ever sell unless you have so many of them that you can legitimately afford it. What do I mean by that? Well, you can produce coal a lot. Put a charcoal kiln down, get one of those turbines, let it go to work. It's going to constantly work for you, at which case you can sell it to him. He will purchase it for a decent price. But let's take a look at the fuel. Fuel is something that you need to actually extract from the ground. This is your finite resource. So we're going to go over here. Look at this oil spring. It's tapped out. Let's look at the ones next to it. All tapped out, right? If you tap out on your oil reserves, you are DONE screwed. So don't really focus too much when it comes on selling fuel, if at all. That should be the last resort in this scenario. There are plenty of oil fields around, So you can go ahead and extract a decent amount. The issue here is that you don't have a commuter pier. So you cannot physically transfer your workforce from, for example, Rio Ralto over to Nova Prosperitum and vice versa. So you're actually going to have to build up an entire island in order to get a particular resource extracted. For example, what we had to do here on Capua, we had to legitimately get to Obreras, bring some stuff for them in order to extract the stuff from the mineral deposits over here. And the mineral deposits were only accessible once we reached, like, what, 2,700 Artistas? Yeah, which that pretty much constitutes late game, but we'll talk about that in a second. So let's go over some chains that I would highly recommend against actually producing, because this is what's going to work to your detriment. One of those chain, they're relatively fine. Okay, so everything in here you could produce by a metric ton if you really want to. Rum is totally easy to produce. Fertilizer is crazy good. I mean, this is probably how they should have had it in the base game, to be perfectly honest with you, but I'm not going to get into that whole can of worms. Timber, easy. Fried plantains, easy. The only thing that I would mention is the fish oil factories. They don't get access to electricity, so they are going to be slower than the plantain plantations by a lot. And even if you do have electricity with the fried plantain kitchen, you're still going to need a lot of fish oil factories. So if you do want some specialists, we'll talk about those in a second. This is just the most difficult part of this is going to be the fish oil. The sales, not too bad. See, like, you can potentially go ahead and get a lot of sales produced and bring it over here to Isabel, because she will in fact purchase them, but not for a lot. They're just like, okay, a little bit of a supplemental resource that you can just build it. Because if you're going for the gold, right, you have to sell 500,000. We're at 300,000 right now. So anything that's easy to make and that's the duration is short, that's fast, and we can sell it a whole bunch, you can do that. So this is not a bad one. Going back over here, the orchards are good. I really didn't focus on them too much. And remember that everything in here requires bricks. Bricks is also a finite resource. So one thing that I didn't understand the first time that I was going through this entire scenario is that I could make a whole bunch of bricks, then come over here to Paloma and sell them. Don't ever, ever, ever sell your bricks. I'd rather you hold onto your bricks, including the clay, and have this icon there for full output storage than you actually going and selling these bricks. Because getting the clay is going to be a massive undertaking later on. So we have 950 in here. More than likely, we're at 700 something, 539 with the clay. So we have a decent reserve over here. That's what you want to have. Comfortable reserve. Going over to the Obrero chain, this is where it gets interesting. So the bricks, we already touched on that. The tortillas, relatively easy to produce. The water treatment plant, I don't build this thing. I think the outhouses are far superior. The aluminum profiles, this one is intriguing. So way back when we first started, aluminum profiles was something that, we thought, yeah, this is going to definitely be a good one. But whilst the charcoal and the coal itself is an infinite resource, the bauxite is not. You can purchase the aluminum from the NPC traders, but they don't replenish their stock fast enough. It's kind of on the slower end when it comes to aluminum profiles. So, going into what they could be used for, I just personally say stockpile them for silos. Don't even worry about making the sewing machines at all. The reason for this is sewing machines require you to have the aluminum profiles, and because the timers are the exact same as the base game, these things are going to be really fast, and these Artistas are going to go through them so fast. It's ridiculous. There's no way to cut down on it. There's no way to change the input value. So I personally consider sewing machines completely out of the whole realm. I don't even care about them anymore, and I'm not going to care about them anymore. Period. The end. Coffee is a very good one. Coffee you can definitely mass produce on, because as you can see here, we do have a couple of our coffee fields right over here. And then on Caldera de Fuego, we also have some more that's supplementing it. And this is where you really want your fuel to go to. You don't want the fuel going to other sources, which we'll talk about in a moment. But as you can see here, for example, all these coffee roasters put in with a really really good item, if I can actually click on the trade union and not the Mescal bar, being Cecilia, which is really helping us with the whole coffee roasters in general. Yes, she is taking more of a workforce from us, but we're getting some passive chocolate, and chocolate is going to be important for later on. Coffee roasters and coffee plantations are always very good because, again, you can sell the coffee beans to the Admiral. I would honestly hold off on doing that, though, unless you're in a bind and you don't actually have these things built. That's a totally different story. I would consider selling the coffee itself to Yauska over here because, you know, again, bad timing, but she will actually purchase coffee. The highest rate that I've seen it is at like 940. That is really high. But the Mac Daddy of the Obrera chain, in my humble opinion, is definitely cigars. Cigars is really, really easy to produce, especially when you have this incredible specialist being Torcedo Lucia, of whom changes the wood veneers to timber. And thank God she's actually in this mode. Otherwise, this was going to really suck. If we had to actually produce the wood veneers, the cigar factories would definitely not be as lucrative. And they're so powerful that we have this many of them. Now, hold Fal down. It's okay, pal. I know that this is your wet dream, but I need you to calm it down. Deep breaths, buddy. Go light one up and you'll be good. I love you, man. You're so funny. So having Torcedo Lucia is incredible because we're going to be getting a lot of cigars, and cigars easily go up for like over 1,000 with Yauska. So you're going to be making a killing with these things. Additionally, with that, if you're overproducing them, you can indeed give it to your Artistas because they would definitely want the cigars for their happiness need, but they're not going to pay for it. So that's kind of the flip side to this. You have a population here that are going to do everything that you want, but they're not going to pay you. That's the problem. But you'll make them happy. You see a happy, smiling face, and they won't rebel against you. So that's one good thing. They're volunteers. What can you expect? Caoutchouc would be useful here for the chewing gum, but I just don't care to do so. So cigars is definitely the king when it comes to the Obrera chain. The bombins, unfortunately, they were a letdown. You don't actually sell these for too much. So if you're not overproducing on this, just keep it to the limit that you need here for your Obreras and your Artistas, and just leave it at that. There's no point. Reinforced concrete and the grenades. These two are... how can I put this? Grenades, you only need it for a quest. So I would not even focus on this chain. Look at how much work you have to put into this. We thought way back that the grenades were going to be something that we could mass produce. We could have if we had an infinite source of steel coming through, but then iron is a finite resource. So we don't want to be extracting this iron and produce steel in order to put it towards a grenade that we're just going to sell. In my humble opinion, cut out the weapons factory altogether. It's not going to do you any favors. There is a point in the quest line, because we've already passed this point, we can talk about it, that you do actually need to sell a couple of the grenades. So you can produce like up to 50 and then get rid of the building, hold them in the stockpile. Hell, I'm pretty sure I still have some grenades lying around. Where are they? There they are. I have 29 still there, right? And just stop it, because the oil refineries and the fuel source is going to be the one that's going to kill you here, plus the steel. You can produce celluloids constantly because everything in this side of the chain is an infinite resource, but this side is not. So cut this out, make like 50, and then stop. But with regards to the reinforced concrete, it's kind of a similar beast, but you are going to actually need to have reinforced concrete over the, whatchamacallit, the grenades. For example, in order to build one of these cigar factories, we actually do need reinforced concrete. So this does make sense. We can utilize the furnaces in order to get some steel and have some oil for the fuel in order to power the concrete works. But let's take a look at Arrakis for a second. We have one over here. It doesn't have any cement left because, again, cement, everything in what the concrete works require is a finite resource. So having 141 reinforced concrete, that's pretty much what we need for the entirety of the campaign. We have like 200 left on Nova Prosperitum. You don't need any more. So trying to find more cement, like right over here on Moscondo, we don't even need to tap into that, in my opinion, because we're not going to be expanding upon any chain that's going to require us to go massively into reinforced concrete, period, dot, the end. So in the priority system, getting some reinforced concrete, I would say cap out at around 300 total reinforced concrete, then shut these works off, and like maybe 50 on the grenades, and then call it done. The chocolate chain, don't even bother. Chewing gum, don't even bother. Helium, another really, really interesting one. The helium is both a good one and a bad one. The thing is that, again, you're going to have to use the fuel. That's the part that sucks. The rest of it is fine. Not so much the clay, though, because we want to hold on to the clay. Here's my honest take. When it comes to the helium deposits, only extract up to, like, maybe fully tap out one mine. Like, I haven't even fully tapped out this mine. I've taken, like, a little over 200 of it out, and I've stopped. Because the amount of stuff necessary to take the helium out of here is way too much. I don't want to be wasting my fuel reserves on industrial oil in order to crank out a whole bunch of helium, but also take some clay in order to make this happen. No, no, no. And don't fall into selling it to the Admiral. Don't ever do that. Hold on to it so you can build some airships. You can build a couple of these things, okay? And it's really, really powerful at this stage because you want to try to get stuff to and from your island over there a little bit faster. As you see here, here's the Harkonnen. It's coming to get some more absinthe. It's going to go sell it. It's a fantastic way of actually allocating what you have worked on. The more difficult the chain, you really have to sit back and evaluate. Is this going to be worth the investment? Yes or no? In this particular case, helium would be a lot better to produce these airships. We can either build the Manticore or the Hermes. And in this particular case, we went with the Hermes. I'm not even going to try to pronounce those names. It ain't going to happen. What's your deal? Why are you not taking the absinthe? Okay, well, we'll hold off on you for a second. We'll bring you back. Let's go into the Artista train. So we already talked about the sewing machines. Don't even bother with this. The balls, soccer balls and all that stuff, you can do this, absolutely. Both are infinite resources over here, and you definitely do need it. So that's why we have been providing a whole bunch of them right over here. The Mezcal bar is definitely easier than the Jalea, and we'll talk about this, because this looks completely daunting, but I'll tell you how you can circumnavigate this. The sugar is going to be easy to produce. As you can see, we have 3 of them over here. Citrus is going to be probably the most difficult one, but what we have essentially done here is we've set Rio Ralto to deal with this problem. Like right over here, we have some citrus groves, and in our trade union over here, like, don't be afraid to purchase items either. If you have a bank this much, you can afford them. And don't get scared when this thing turns into red. If you're making a lot of money, and you know you're making a lot of money through just like buying and selling the black market goods, which we'll talk about too, then don't ever worry about getting some items to help you out. This whole scenario is, how can you navigate past all the negativity that's happening to you? Every single NPC in this particular scenario wants to see you fail. You are the one that makes the decision to make that happen or not. So let's make it not happen. You have to be the one that succeeds. So what we did here is we got the optimized pruning book, which we can even actually get one better. And that's really helping us out with the citrus groves altogether. So they're at 26 seconds, and they're bringing it over to our main island of Nova Prosperitum. So what the heck is happening here now? Oh yeah, gotta love the fried plantain issue. So we'll let that rectify itself. I think we just don't have enough fried plantains. Where the hell are they going? I'm wondering what the issue is here, actually, now. What's your problem? Don't have any ethanol? What the hell? Where's the ethanol ship? Hello? What happened? Where's my ethanol? Oh, there you are. Oh my god, I'm blind. I'm blind as a damn bat. Anyway. So, we could probably cut the, like, we have to make sure we fix that. I'm gonna put that on the to-do list, because that is just terrible. So with regards to the Jalea, it does mention that the calamari fishery requires you to have a fuel power plant and an oil refinery in order to get the calamari out in the first place. You don't need this. This is so misleading. All it says is it requires electricity. Come over here to Blanca, right? We have our trade union here with a steam turbine. You can purchase a steam turbine from Yauska right over here. Maybe she'll have one that can prove me right. There we go. The steam turbine right over there. The steam turbine powers everything on your islands. So these calamari fisheries are working just fine. So don't even worry about actually having a power plant over here. You will do just fine with those steam turbines, and just get a couple of those because you are going to need it. And then the Jalea is actually a relatively easy chain to, mass produce on, considering how we're almost always full up here. Just completely disregard the fact that we have our workforce going down. What are you bringing? Oh, there it is. So they're going through that much? That's crazy. It's going to all go away in a hot second. Boom. So if we go over here, that's the Mescal bar. Where's the Jalea? I think it's right here. So we are at full... No, that's... Where the hell is it? It's somewhere around here. You? Mescal bar? There it is. So you need to have herbs and you need to have corn, but we're almost always full up on these. It's very, very fast, and it's one of those nice restaurant looking buildings. So you can definitely easily produce that, not a big deal. The ice cream, I wouldn't really focus on. Again, it's telling you that you need to have the fuel power plant. You don't need this. Come over here. Let's take a look at Buena Casa. We have a steam turbine working in here, and it's in the trade union right in this spot. Right over there. And that provides the electricity. So every single one of these cattle farms are going to be producing some passive milk for us right over here. But the output storage is actually full, so that's why it's not doing anything for us. The beach need... Oh, this pissed me off. 100% it did. Because it's so finicky. I tried to position it in the front. The entire city was in the front here for the longest time. But now, I had to actually bring it all the way back here because the beach itself only positions in certain locations. So like right over here, it won't go over to here, and it won't do it on a corner edge like this. You have to find a spot like this. So when you're actually building your settlement, look for a very long beach end because you're going to need it. And then that's it. You don't have any ornaments, so you have to just build around it. That's why I put the beach right over there and all the Artistas right over here. Going into the perfumes, don't even bother with this. They go through way too many perfumes. You will not be able to hold it off unless you are like massively producing on ethanol, which we are here on Arrakis. That's a different story altogether. And you really want to focus on the perfumes. Okay, more power to you, champ. I will say you can actually purchase or sell them to Yauska again, and she will purchase them at a decent price. There's one more that's better. Film reels. Film reels are crazy strong, and it takes forever for one of these cinemas to go through them. 3 minutes, and the actual building with electricity processes at 15 seconds. You can sell these things for 4K a piece. This is a really good one to get into, and the way to do that is over here with the cinema. So all you would need is the celluloids, but the only difficult part about this is the saltpeter works. This building is garbage. Absolute garbage. You can't put electricity to it. You don't have any items in this particular scenario that I know of that's going to help you with it. And it is going to be hella slow. Here's one way to circumnavigate that problem. Boom. Get yourself a whole bunch of alpaca farms. Get them have silos. Put electricity on the island with a steam turbine. They will passively produce saltpeter for you. And they are fast. Okay, they're a lot faster with this whole chain than they are with that behemoth, and it is just just absolutely terrible and disgusting. I'm disgusted. I spit at it. So the fans, don't even bother. This is really, really, really unnecessary amount of work. As you can see, I'm not giving them the fans either. There's legitimately no point in doing so. The reason for this is the motors are far better to hold out for two sources. One, the airships, which you can build, or two, the scooters. There is an achievement in this particular scenario called the Scoot Over, in which you would need to have 180 tons of scooters in storage. Now, I only have one scooter manufactory back here. It's right over here. And right now we have 342 of these things. I am not even giving it to my people. One, because I don't have enough Artistas in here to even provide it to them in the first place. And B, I want to get that freaking achievement. I want to get that badge. So you want to hold on to these motors because the entire process in making motor is so difficult. You need to have so many finite resources in here, like the aluminum profiles, and then caoutchouc in order to make the cables. You need the steel in order to produce this thing. And then later on, going to the scooters themselves, you need to have minerals for the pigments. Pigments, also another finite resource, which I'm also going to tell you, humbly, don't ever bother with the Samba school, because you need this for later. Unless you have so much of this, that's totally fine. But for the in the grand scheme of things, you really, really, really want to just focus on getting the scooters if you want to get the badges. And don't give it to them. At the end of the game, what I'm planning on doing is having a massive stockpile of scooters, going over here to Paloma, making her go bankrupt because she'll purchase these scooters for like 16,000 a piece. So these are just like little tips and tricks when it comes to Pride and Peddlers. Now, the other thing that I really want to mention is the black market goods, because you are going to have to not only sell things to the NPCs, but you're also going to have to buy things from them. Buy low to sell high. That's what you're essentially having to do. So let's take a look at Carl, for example. He's a very beautiful man, you know. I dig the monocle. I don't know if I could ever rock the monocle. How does that thing stand up or stay in there? Like, does he have to constantly squint on it? That would suck. I wouldn't want to do that. So I guess we'll leave him to it. As you can see here, we have a whole bunch of black market goods, which at the moment, in this currency crisis, we can sell them for 300% above market value and all that stuff. And that's how much they're also selling it for too. There are, at certain points in the scenario, every single event is going to be a negative event, but you have to take the negative and turn it into a positive. So like, for example, your best negative event is going to be the fuel stop event. Why? Because everything is up by 45% sale price, along with your own maintenance costs. The sale price is good, and it will far outweigh your maintenance costs. The next one being the $1 million dung event, which the NPCs are essentially telling you, you can't purchase any of the dung from us because we'll massively inflate the price. It's literally not that even too bad. So just go ahead and do it. If you're doing it, do it. Because you're going to have to purchase fuel from them, and you are going to have to purchase the dung if you really want. So right here, we have 76 that's right over there, and we're literally purchasing it for nothing because she's offering it for nothing. And that's one really good thing, that we have these sources we can purchase them from. Definitely purchase the fuel and the fertilizer if you need it, more so the fuel from the NPCs. But going to the black market goods, wait for a negative event inflation. That is when every single one of these particular goods are going to be dirt cheap. We're talking the canned food, the absinthe, the biscuits, the fur coats. The fur coats probably the most important. Make sure you have 2 or 3 ships over here. So the moment that inflation event happens, you get them on a route and they start purchasing all these goods. If you have airships, all the better, because they're faster in order to get the stuff to these guys and back to our islands, or from these guys and back to our islands as quickly as possible. And what you want to do is you want to just stockpile as much as you can. What I will say is that there are ways of getting the black market goods. For example, what we're doing here on Buena Costa. Fantastic idea, right? All of these rum distilleries, even though they are changing the input from ethanol, or what is it, from sugarcane and wood to ethanol and sugar, are passively producing some absinthe for us using the blending tank. Whenever there are stars in the water, early game, and at any point in the game, go and find them. See what they're all about, because they more than likely have really good items. You want to find at least the blending tank. You definitely want this thing. This is going to save you during every single currency crisis, hands down, because the absinthe is considered one of those goods that you can sell for a higher price. And passively being able to produce it is incredible. Moving on to the other goods that are also of legendary tier. The can seamer. Don't ever use this thing. Why? The building now processes iron. You don't have infinite iron. If you did, absolutely. Then the canned food would be totally fine, that you can produce passively with the calamari fisheries. But you don't. You cannot use this. It's just not optimal to do so. The fake fur frame loom, on the other hand, is not as bad. Okay, but the issue is that it affects the costume shop. The costume shop being right over here, it requires us to have a finite resource of the minerals and the pigments. So this is not a good thing long term. The only one that's good long term is the blending tank. And I know I'm overloading you with a bunch of information, but I know that at the end of the day, you are going to love this scenario because it is very, very fun. When you get the hang of it, I look forward to playing this particular scenario. In the first round that I went through this, I didn't. I had no clue what I was doing, and I was very, very confused. But now I know exactly what I'm doing. I know how exactly to go about these situations. I know how to navigate through them, and I want to make sure that you can do it too. I know you can do it. That's the thing. I know for a fact you can do it. Apart from that, you can just try it out. Go and colonize every single one of these islands. Play around with the scenario. It doesn't give you a lot of wiggle room to make mistakes, though. But remember, if you want to keep playing around with it and exploring, make sure your global population of Artista, sorry, not Artistas, the Obreras are not over at least 2,500. So add them up. Make sure you're not above that. Don't get to the Artistas. Don't fall into the trap that I fell into because I thought that I just overinflated and nothing was happening. Then I saw the first market crash. I was like, oh crap, I'm done. It's happening all over again. Take it slow. This is a scenario that you don't have to rush in. And once you have a very stable cash stack, that's when you can start branching out a little bit more. Hopefully this was informative. And let me know if you guys need any more clarification on the other ones. In the next episode, we will get back to more sales. We're going to try to expand upon Arrakis's ethanol field so we can potentially bring some stuff back here. Maybe produce some perfumes for these guys. I don't know. Maybe. Anything's possible at this point. I just really want to get a whole bunch of goods that are easy to produce and start selling them en masse because I want to get to 500,000 already. So we'll probably work on that in the next episode. Until then, my friends, thank you so much, as always, for all of your continued support. You all are incredible people, and you guys, like, if I could hug every single one of you, I probably would. Until the next episode, though, please consider like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell button, sharing it with your friends. And I'll catch you on the next episode, my Rantians.